Hey, Drummy Mo here again, and continuing our recording with Reaper series, I wanted to share with you some discoveries that I made the last couple of days. I gotta admit, this is the most amount of time I've spent mixing any track, and it's good. It's a good learning experience that was much needed, and I'm glad I'm going through this with all of you guys to help me walk me through some of these concepts. So this is perfect. I've rearranged my um, GUI here, or whatever you call it, workspace within Reaper, so you can see the tracks front and center. Um, so first of all, let's see. We've got all these tracks here. Again, I put the toms in a folder and disabled all the individual tom effects and just put them on one effect, and you can see if I mute that, it mutes everything below it. And likewise with the overheads. Okay, so clipping um, is what got this conversation started in the first place. And before, I didn't really, I just thought uh, my volume levels were too loud. Okay, that's about all I knew about clipping. Okay, something is too loud. What is it? Is it the knobs on the interface itself, on the individual channels, or is it the sliders on here, or is it the sliders on the Tascam settings panel that I did a video on earlier? So let's take it from step one. The interface, I did a simple sound check, just hitting all the surfaces a few times, and didn't see any red lights on any of the channels. So that was a good sign. So I adjusted the volume knobs on the interface itself to where I thought they should be. That would give me just the right amount of volume with the type of hitting that I was going to be doing for this particular track. Okay, so let's move on to, I didn't use the Tascam settings panel at all this time. So let's, let me show you. Before, I had all my sound volumes right about here, and I would mess with this sucker going up and down here trying to adjust. I had no concept of mixing and mastering. In my infinite wisdom, I thought mixing and mastering was one process. You mix, you master, and that was it. I had no clue it was a separate process. So I read an article, and thanks to Google University, the School of Audio Engineering at Google via YouTube, and the expertise of Sean and Hurricane, aka Brian, uh, I discovered a few things. So I was told to leave the master alone. So I left it at zero. I actually brought it down to uh, below zero. I think it's at negative 12 or maybe negative 15, not sure. Then I brought the volumes all the way down on all the individual channels. Okay. And I wasn't getting the right sound. So if you're like me and just an independent hobbyist, loves to play the drums for fun, but wants to get some videos out there, your home studio is most likely a couple of pieces of equipment that you use as input devices and some kind of editing tool like you see here, and a set of monitors. So in a professional studio, you got real monitors and all this heavy duty hardware and equipment and professional grade software and whatnot. But if you're recording at home like me, your monitor is your computer. So for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why, if I brought the volumes down, I'm not getting any sound when I render. So what happens? Let's see here. How do I get this up? The show. Let's see. Come on. Where's my? Okay, get rid of this. There we go. All right, here it is. So if you open your computer's mixer, this was way down here. This was all the way down, and therefore affecting my sound levels. So that's why I kept playing with the volumes. I wanted to crank it up and get the right mix, but in doing so, I experienced all that clipping that you heard um, on my demo tracks, and I'm sure that are still out there on all my collab videos. And I think maybe one came out sounding really nice because I didn't hit the suckers really hard. And that was actually a tactic. I said, okay, let me not hit the drums so hard. But hell, how are you going to play drums and not really smack them if you need to, right? And still get that quality tone. So anyway, if you're mixing and mastering and manipulating your videos and your final takes on your PC, aka your home studio, check first of all for your output settings. This was all the way down, actually, I'm sorry, right here. So when you open Reaper, it's going to give you a Reaper application with its own volume control. So this sucker was down here. So as this is my monitor, my output that I need to compare my final mix to, I brought it all the way up. That made a huge difference when I'm playing back my audio. So now if I brought this down, brought all these down, excuse me, and brought the master down, I can play it back and it still had some decent volume on the output. So that's number one. Okay. So don't need that anymore. So number two, we went over what I thought was mixing and mastering. And now I know. So I'll bring this down to about -18 and then leave it there and then bring my mixes, blend them the way I want. You know, how I want my kick and snare to mix in with the toms, with the hi-hats, add my effects, get these set first, then move on to my master. And I added some effects on the master overall. Let's see, this thing takes up my screen. Let's see, all right, so okay, back to here. So here's what I have, just a little bit of EQ and a little bit of compression on the master, and that's it. On the kick, by the way, Hurricane was asking if I'm not hitting that kick hard enough. I'm slapping the shit out of that pedal, bro. So that's not a problem. I do have a clumsy right foot though on a lot of double takes, but this track surprisingly came out pretty decent. But still, lots of work to be done with my bass foot, especially the right foot. So I added a few things here. Gate was one of the things I had overlooked completely, and when Brian mentioned it in one of the posts, it got me thinking that's what I've been missing all this time. So I added a little bit of gating on the kick, snare, not too much going on there, some compression, some EQ. And I also discovered that the order you have these in, like I can put this above the EQ, it's going to apply that compression first. It's going to apply this effect first, then it's going to apply the EQ. But I want my bass to sound EQ'd first, and then I want the compression applied. And it sounded pretty decent. All right. Let's see on the toms. Same thing, just a little compression. And EQ took the mids down on the EQ. No preset, just by ear to make them sound good. And I'm using some of these what do you call presets on this, and so far so good. I'm learning what these presets, how they're set, and what they do, and I'm learning more about the attack and release and all this stuff. I haven't. I saw Brian's post about using the compressor as a sound soundscape tool. That's a very interesting concept, and I can see where that would come into play, but I'm not at that level yet. And I would love to visit that MixBus TV on YouTube, the MixBus channel, and see what's going on there. So, with that in mind, I also came across an article. Let's see, this one. I'll put a link up to this thing. Um, Avoid clipping in your flannel. This is a great tutorial. Um, it gives you the basics, just enough technical junk with enough of the basics that you can understand what's going on, and that really helped me clarify a lot of the concepts that Brian and Sean were talking about. And then, I took that in and soaked it up with what I was doing in here. All right, so enough of my nonsense lecturing. Let me give you a sneak peek of what this is going to be my final take, actually, of Funky Walker that I'll put together tonight and upload it. So let me give you guys a sneak peek, and here we go. All right, I was on mute. But anyway, as you saw, let me do this. If I mute it, yeah, if I mute it, let's see what happens here. Okay, so I'm just going to talk over while the master is muted. You can tell nothing is redlining here, and I'm still getting that good balanced sound that I've been after all this time. I could probably crank this up just a tad, and it'll still sound good. And I messed with it earlier. I got this and the bass and the snare just to where I want. The others kind of blended in pretty good. These three are always my first concerns, and I'm liking what I see so far. It's not redlining. I'm pleased with the sound. And granted, I still got to work on a little bit of the tuning on my drums, which I'm fairly meticulous about. I don't have the best environment like I showed you guys in the introduction video to this series. It's just a garage, and I always thought that was a big factor also, that the sound in here travels in a way that it's just bouncing all over the place and coming back at me, and just going back into the microphone and making it louder than it needs to be with all this extra junk and extra noise and sound waves and junk. And I thought that was a factor. But it's not so much with the mics being placed properly, the sound levels adjusted properly, um, and my learning how to use these tools and adjust these settings accordingly. I'm getting more comfortable with developing the sound that I'm after. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any comments, concerns, bitches, moans, gripes, send Brian an email, not me. I'm just kidding. All right, guys. I appreciate all the feedback. I appreciate all the help. I'm feeling really stoked about this progress, and it's finally coming together. Cheers.